Hello, fourth grade. Today I'm going to go over with you lesson 12.1, starting on page 641 of your chapter 12 books. Unlock the problem says, Jake says the length of his bike is about 4 yards. Use the benchmark units below to determine if Jake's statement is reasonable. So a baseball bat is about 1 yard long. Here's your baseball bat. An inch is about, if you look at the top of your finger, an inch is just that top part would be about an inch. About a foot, it says, is about the length of a license plate. And a mile, if you were to walk a mile outside, it would take you about 20 minutes. So if a baseball bat is about 1 yard long and we're comparing the bat with Jake's bike, Jake's bike is shorter than 4 times the length of a baseball bat because Jake says his bike is 4 yards long. But we know that his bike is not that long. It's not the length of 4 baseball bats. So we say Jake's statement is not reasonable. It doesn't make sense to say that his bike right here is 4 baseball bats long. If we were to guess about how many baseball bats long his bike is, we would probably say, looking at that picture, it's a little bit longer than 1, so maybe 1.5 we could say. Jake's bike is about 1.5 baseball bats long. Now, an inch, a foot, a yard, and a mile are units of length. So if you want to know how long something is, those are the ones you would use. These down here, the next ones we're going to talk about, are benchmarks to know volume. So we're looking at a cup. A cup is 8 ounces. This would be a cup of water, a cup of juice, a cup of milk, 8 ounces. This is a pint. A pint is small. If you've ever had a pint of ice cream or a pint of milk, it's a little bit bigger than a cup. And then we have a quart. A quart is slightly bigger than a pint. We have a half gallon. If you buy a half gallon of milk or juice, that's what it looks like. And then you, of course, have your gallon, which you're all familiar with. It asks us about how much liquid is a mug of hot chocolate. A mug of hot chocolate would probably be about a cup. Because we know that a mug would not be a gallon, a half gallon, or a quart. It could be a pint if it was a big mug, but it's most likely a cup. Customer units of weight. We have ounces, pounds, and tons. Tons are for big measurements, like heavy things. We have our bread here is about a pound. We use pounds to measure a lot. Like if you were to get on a scale, you would be measured in pounds. And then we have ounces, things like pencils, not coins, things that are on the lighter side, paper clips, things like that. So it says about how much does a grapefruit weigh. We know that a grapefruit is not going to weigh a ton. That would be a huge grapefruit. We know that it's not going to be ounces. That's too small. Grapefruit's heavier. We would probably measure a grapefruit using pounds. A grapefruit is probably about the same as 1 pound, a pound of the bread. So now we are turning the page going to 642. We are now going to look at the metric system. So the metric system, if you see here, millimeter, centimeter, decimeter, those are all things you're going to see as we look at the metric units of length. Milli, thousand, cent, hundred, and dec, 10. So if you look at this, kilometer, you walk 1 kilometer in about 10 minutes. So kilometer is the bigger, longer measure. A meter would be like across a door would be about a meter, about 3 feet. A decimeter is about the length across of your hand. A centimeter is little. It's from this side of your finger to this side. And a millimeter is really, really tiny. So is the length of your classroom greater than or less than 1 kilometer? We decided 1 kilometer takes about 10 minutes to walk. Probably doesn't take you 10 minutes to walk around this classroom. So let's say the length is less than a kilometer. To get from your classroom wall to wall, it would be less than a kilometer. Volume, the metric units. Milliliter or a liter. You've seen liters before. Liters are bigger. Milliliter is about how much it fits in this little dropper. About how much medicine is usually in a medicine bottle? About 120 milliliters or liters? Think about how big 120 liters would be. That would be way too big. A medicine bottle would only have about 120 milliliters. With most of this stuff, you can just use your common sense. Oh, there should be 2 L's. And you'll be able to figure this out. Lastly, we have our mass. About how much does a dollar weigh? About a gram. About how much does a baseball bat weigh? A kilogram. So kilogram is for heavier things, gram is for lighter. A paper clip probably is not going to be as much as a kilogram, as much as a baseball bat. That would be a dollar bill. So the mass of a paper clip, we would measure it in grams. Okay? I'm going to have you try 643 on your own. You are determining which you would use for the mass of a strawberry, the length of a cell phone. You are using these to decide. So you're picking from these to go in here. Circling the better estimate. What's the better estimate? The width of a teacher's desk, 10 meters or 1 meter? Think how long 10 meters would be. So it's probably 1 meter. So just think about it using your common sense. And lastly here, use benchmarks to choose how you would measure each. Length of a football field, that's an easy one. Look over here, you're not gonna use an inch, you're not gonna use a foot. You all know football fields are yards. So you're gonna do that with pumpkin weight, and the same down here, you're estimating, and then you're completing the sentence more or less. Matthew's large dog weighs more than a ton or less than a ton. Hopefully his dog is not more than a ton, that would be huge. So Matthew's large dog weighs less than a ton. So again, you are going to do this page 643 by yourself.